Now, we stay on the hardwood. We go to the pros. We're going to the NBA now. All right. We are going to kind of break down the playoff matchups as we see right now. Okay. And if there were any difference, like we could even play out the play-in scenarios. And then with that, let's see which matchups, are the most intriguing. So start off in the East. So we got Boston at 1. So Boston at 1, Milwaukee at 2, Cleveland at 3, the Knicks at 4, the Magic at 5, the Pacers at 6, the Heat at 7, and Philly at 8. The 9 is Chicago, and the 10 is Atlanta. Those are all pretty much set because if you look after that, Brooklyn's 29 and 47. They're not going to get into that seeding. So 1 through 10, that's basically it. It's just a matter of how the order breaks down. Maybe Atlanta or Chicago. It looks like Atlanta and Chicago are pretty much going to be stuck at 9 and 10. It's just a matter of who is where. So basically, if we start that off, you would have Miami playing Atlanta. I'll just say outright right there, Miami wins that, and I think they win it pretty comfortably. And then you would have Philly versus Chicago. With Embiid back, I'm going to take
No. It's the other way, right? So Miami, 7 plays 8, and then 9 plays 10.
You're right.
Right? So it'd be Miami versus Philly.
Which, you know why I said that? Because somebody actually proposed it doing the other way, and for some reason my mind just went that way.
No, because you want to give I like it the way it is, because you want to give it the benefit to the 7th, 8th seed.
But then they're playing each other first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then that's the thing, right? So, like, my point is, like, that that
I
team
get
gets a home game.
I get what you're saying.
As well as they get the opportunity to play twice, right? Versus if you're the bottom seed and you win, there shouldn't be the opportunity where 10 and 9 could both win and then play each other.
I got you. It makes more sense. No, you're right. Somebody said it the other way because they were saying the 7th seed should play the 10, but I think the whole idea behind the play-in in general is just you ended up in the play-in. So, I mean, this is just kind of where you're at. But, okay, so now Miami then would play Philly. Interesting. With a healthy Embiid, I think Philly probably wins that game. If it's a one-game scenario, I like Philly in a one-game scenario.
In the current scenario, I think Miami would want what's it called?
You're saying they wouldn't mind losing to Philly?
They wouldn't mind losing to Philly
because
it would be Miami, Boston, and Boston does not want to see Miami.
So we'll basically just say this.
Even just from a psychological standpoint, they do not want to see Miami in the first round.
So Chicago and Atlanta will both say they're out. Yes. We're both agreeing that Philly and Miami will be the 7th and 8th seed. So do we agree then Philly ends up at the 7, Miami's at the 8?
I think so.
Wow. Okay.
I think so.
So you get Boston versus Miami in a first-round series. Who do you like?
I would ultimately, from a coaching experience, obviously you have to go to Miami.
Of course. Spo's the man.
Based on history, you have to go with Miami. As much as Boston has done, that is the one team they do not want to see out of sheer
it's a familiarity thing too. Like they know how to play with Boston.
100%. And like I said, they're going to have the psychological edge.
Like Boston has to go into that series and basically like dominate them quickly.
Again, right? We gave the Jets coach, right, a lot of credit for making other teams play with their left hand.
Yes.
Eric Spoelstra is the exact same way. Boston
might be the best coach in the
by
NBA.
The 3. Yeah. He's going to take the 3 away, and now you have to beat Boston with 2s. It's going to be a close game, and I could easily see Miami.
And Miami makes 3s in the playoffs too. So here's what I'll say. I know this whole nature of Miami, they can turn it on and, kind of turn it off, turn it on, and they are a playoff team. They've proven it over the last couple of seasons. I have to give Boston the edge here and give them the benefit of the doubt because you cannot have been this good all season long and just blown teams out.
I thought you believe in history, man.
I do.
It's repeating itself.
You know what? It's tough, too, because I felt like the case that you just made was great. Like, I'm like, it's hard to even argue with that. The only reason I want to say it is just because I'm like, if you lose in the first round, it's just like, what was this season even for? And that move that you made in the offseason, it just makes everything look worse. Like, then what do you say ultimately is the problem with the organization? I have to believe Boston finds a way. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think this is a 6-game series, but I do think Boston pulls it out. I do.
Then what do you think is going to happen if it is the Bucks versus the 76ers?
I think the Bucks will win that, and the reason that I think that they'll win that is because Embiid is only going to have so much time to get healthy and acclimated for that playoff series. Giannis has actually given Embiid problems in the fast just because he moves a lot. He's a guy that can go and actually guard him. They have Brook Lopez too. So they have, I think the difference is just they have more to throw at Embiid than the 76ers do to throw at Giannis and Brook Lopez, not to mention the matchup of Damian Lillard too in Dame time.
Listen, I'm going with the 76ers.
You're going with the 76ers.
Whoa. With the 76ers.
You're going with two upsets.
Here's the thing. It would be a revenge game.
Sure.
It would be a revenge game because Doc Rivers was the 76ers coach, right? And ultimately that 76ers organization is trying to get that monkey off of their back. This is the weakest version of the Bucks that we would see. And if they have to have that first round heavyweight fight with the 76ers, of which Embiid will have his legs underneath him. If Tyrese Maxey is back, they've learned how to play without them. So incorporating them all together, I think that's a 7-game series. And I would obviously, I would love to see, Rivers and the Bucks pull it out, but I think it'd be such a revenge game. The 76ers would be more focused. And you have to look, and I forgot the stat, but with Embiid, the 76ers are the most offensively efficient team there is, right, in the league this year, right? I think if they're not one, they're two behind the Nuggets. So they're an elite team with Embiid, and he was projected to be the MVP before he got hurt. So if they can even replicate that form going into the playoffs, I think 76ers wins that matchup.
All righty, man. So
two
upsets
and
for
the
you.
Bucks are only 14-13 under Doc. They still
You
haven't
have
figured
the
it
1
out.
and 2 seeds both going down in the first round.
If that's the matchup.
Okay. Here's where my upset actually comes in. Cleveland Cavaliers at 3 would match up against the 6 Indiana Pacers. I like the Indiana Pacers in this matchup. And the reason I like them is, one, I think that if he's on and he can figure out his shooting touch in time, I think Tyrese Halliburton is a matchup nightmare for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think he's a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams, but I just look at the addition of Pascal Siakam makes the Pacers that much more of a formidable, tough team up front. And it's another scorer that can go and attack the basket. They also just have tough dudes. You know what this Pacers team actually kind of reminds me of? They remind me of the Pacers team that used to give the Bulls problems. Reggie Miller, the Davis boys, Rick Smits, and all them guys. You had just a bunch of different dudes that could kind of all just get dirty. They have a combined guys that can score, but then also go and do the dirty work, and they know how to win physical knockout brawl type games. That's why them and the Knicks have had some of the best games this year.
In that matchup, I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers.
You like Cavaliers?
Take the Cavaliers. If they're all healthy, if Mitchell and Garland are playing with Evan Mobley, I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers in that matchup.
And the final one, as we go rapid fire here.
You already know.
Knicks versus
You already
Orlando.
know.
I mean, come on. You got two
New
Knicks
York,
fans
New
here. New York.
As long as we can get OG back, if we get between OG and Randall, if we can get one back without a doubt.
And I honestly think they could probably get through a series like that without them. I think going forward, they mean a lot more for their playoff prospects. I think Orlando's good. Banchero is a bad boy, don't get me wrong. And I hope I pronounced that name right. It's Banchero or Banchero. I'm not 100% sure.
I think you said it right the first time.
Okay. So Paolo Banchero, bad dude, but that's still a young team. They haven't been in a playoff series in a couple of years. The Knicks are experienced, Thibodeau's experience. I'd like them to take that series, if not right. Probably an outright sweep. So,